Whilst food tracking can be a very useful tool for body composition, I do think that it is a bit of a double-edged sword in the sense that it can have the propensity to make people very orthorexic and obsessive about their food. And I know this because I'm someone who personally fell victim to this in the past. So when I was a kid, I used to be morbidly obese. My parents had to take me to a dietitian on the NHS, and that was the moment the penny dropped and I realised I was fat, which I hadn't really realised before that. But it was essential for my health, don't get me wrong. But after that, I kind of got really into nutrition, and I realised that by eating less calories, I would lose more weight. But what this led to in my head, and possibly something to do with my nature, was this idea that if less is good in terms of weight loss, then even less is better infinitely, essentially. And this led to the point where I was eating like 700 to 900 calories a day, just starving myself, and led to a lot of issues that took a lot of years for me to get right, both mentally and physically. You know, I ruined my metabolism, I potentially stunted my development of my brain and my body, and obviously being that way isn't very good for your mental health either, and I had to unlearn a lot of the things that I'd learned and kind of rewire my brain to have a lot healthier and more balanced and more rational and objective views on food and my own body. But my point is that food tracking can be really useful because it can give you a really good idea of what it is that you're eating. I think for most people it's useful to do for maybe between 1 and 4 weeks to get a good idea of what it is that you're consuming, because there will be things that surprise you. But from then on in, unless you've got very specific body composition goals in mind, it's not really essential to do it all the time. You could maybe do it once or twice a week just to check that you're not drifting with your portions or adding something in that you weren't considering. But overall, this can, you know, be substituted for by just a good understanding of habits around nutrition, so that once you have a good idea of a baseline of what you're eating, you know you're hitting your protein, you can kind of just watch the scale or not, and just monitor, you know, how you look in the mirror, how you feel, as to whether you go, do you know what, I need a little bit more food, so I'll add a little bit more there. And then you can just be a lot more intuitive about it, which is something that long term is a lot more sustainable. So yeah, point of this video is that food tracking is a double-edged sword. If you're someone who has a propensity to be obsessive or feels that creeping in when using that technology, then be aware of that and maybe pull back on it. Use it every now and then to get a baseline, but other than that, develop sustainable habits that you can do for the rest of your life and not have to be so obsessive and tied to your food scale all the time. So that is my little off the dome on food tracking and disordered eating. If that's something you relate to, let me know down below, or if that's something you want me to discuss further in the future. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next one. Thanks.